Resident Evil 4.
Hello there, Servum17 once again. This is my Resident Evil 4 Professional No Damage run. That is my headset clanging against my shitty chair. I do apologise, folks, but it moves quite a lot, and the weather is pretty damn hot at this moment, so I'm going to be moving quite a lot as well. This is Chapter 3.1. We're entering into the castle for the very first time, and this is an area you're going to see us spending quite a lot of time in. This is a very long area, and the increase in difficulty is very noticeable. You're going to be fighting much more enemies than we were in the village. You're going to be fighting a different variety of enemies too. Some enemies with shields, you know, some of these blind creatures. That is a snake. Look at that shit, man. So dangerous. The amount of times I've been hit by snakes on this run is embarrassing. Which is hilarious considering some bosses never even touched me. Some bosses did, i.e. The thing creature, is it called the thing? I forget the name of it. It's the experiment that's underground in the cages. That boss is a pile of shit, man. I've always hated it, and it was a really, really tough sequence in this run. And then Krauser. Krauser is an absolute nightmare. He's so fast. He's just really, really fast. And it's one of those things where he's just really cheesy. And on Professional, he takes a ton of damage, and there is no, rocket launcher, easy mode getting out of fighting him. You have to man up and actually kick his ass, which not the biggest fan of doing. I would love a nice, shoot a rocket at him, but you can only carry one, so such is the case. But right here, I've left in some of the shop menu just to show you the stuff I'm purchasing. I recommend highly that you get this sniper rifle. I also recommend highly that you replace the standard shotgun with the riot shotgun, because they're just better for the most. I mean, there's always going to be those people who prefer certain things. There are also certain weapons that the previous versions are superior in certain ways to the more advanced ones, but a lot of it is definitely down to preference. One glaring example is the original rifle that we got. It's a great gun, and when you upgrade it, it has the ability to headshot an enemy who is pretty much immune to everything. But I think that's only something that can be done on the GameCube version, so it's not something I really have to be too bothered about. But the thing that gives us so much power with this rifle is we can do this. We can kill people from distance, one shot, one kill, and I mean, don't get me wrong, my aim is not great, and the sway on the rifle, the sway on the characters, it makes it a little tricky at times, but it's just something you have to get used to. And it's something that we will get used to. But this particular sequence is kind of tricky. It's a very long section without checkpoints, and there is one instance in it where the enemies spawn behind you. So you can't leave Ashley just at the beginning or she'll get grabbed. And the thing that sucks here the most is these catapults. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but they're obviously a very mean human being. And I say mean because it allows the enemies to do things you can't do. As you notice, Leon cannot aim on his left-hand side. He aims on his right-hand side because that's the way the game works. That's the way it worked now, and that's the way some games still work. But as games have been developed, and they've looked into this issue of, being right-hand obsession, of the camera is looking over his right shoulder, what do you do when you're on an instance that's on the left? And they allowed you to swap shoulders, because, a lot of games nowadays, the character is ambidextrous, and he's just as good when he's doing it on his left-hand side as he is on his right-hand side, and it's a way to get around the difficulties of approaching every situation from the right. This is a time when that really wasn't something that was done, because this was all new, and they were just tentatively taking steps into this perspective. So you have to approach everything very methodically, knowing where you are vulnerable and when you aren't vulnerable. And when people have catapults with perfect aim and insane splash damage, it makes it very challenging. Like, if Leon aimed this like he aimed the pistol, the shooting would be significantly easier, but because he kind of hip fires like he's some crazy, Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie who can have perfect aim from the damn hip every time, it makes it tricky on some of the higher shots. So you just need to be aware of what your weaknesses are. It's kind of the motto of what I'm saying. We came in here just in case anybody turned up. There are some interesting spawns on this sequence, and the hardest part is this part right now. When you cross over the bridge to my right, there's a guy who can hit you on the catapult, and you can't hit him until you put yourself in a spot where he can hit you, and it's just not very fun at all. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's just kind of douchey. And it's a really challenging moment where you have to commit or die. And normally on a playthrough, you know, it does a lot of damage, don't get me wrong, and when my life is the way it is, it's probably a one-shot kill. But you can take the hit and then kill him on most playthroughs. But on one such as this, I have to try and use my tools as an advantage to eke out a victory here. So I'm going to tell Ashley to wait, and then I'm going to just edge my way to see if I can hit this dude before he hits me. And did you hear that then? I didn't. I can hear monks, and when I was playing, I didn't have volume, so I couldn't hear them. They're going to pick Ashley up in a moment, and I'm going to have to deviate, like just now. So the cool thing is, because they didn't hit her, you know, they just picked her up, we don't have to worry too much. Ooh, that's also the first instance where we did a suplex as well. Did you notice how I mentioned that when you get to the castle, the kneecap often results in the suplex? I don't know why that is. Somebody who's, you know, much more knowledgeable about this game might know the particulars on why it changes from the kick to the suplex in this area, but it just kind of seems to. But now we've dealt with those, we can get back on this, trying to shoot that dude in the face. And it will work, this. It's just if I take 1-2 steps further on this path, he will hit me. So I'm being incredibly tentative here, because I have to be. And the aiming and my analogs and a lot of other things come together to make it quite difficult. But we got the shot, and now we're going to push up here and use the crank. And that's the first tricky section of this new area. But I wanted to speak about something on another video, and I always kind of put it off, I do, because I don't like mentioning other bigger channels, and at the same time, I feel like it's kind of cowardly when you don't say their names, especially when you have a grievance with them like I do. And against my better judgment, I'm going to talk about this, but I'm not going to mention the channel because it's not really necessary. It just winds me up. I tweeted the other day that I believe fervently that if you do not put commentary over your playthrough or your walkthrough of a game on YouTube, and if you don't somehow creatively add your touch and make it your own, then you should be flagged. Your video should be removed. You shouldn't be allowed to do it. And even if you're allowed to do it, you shouldn't be allowed to monetize it, so that these massive channels that do zero work, zero effort, can't make all the money that they're making. And a lot of people probably think, well, that sounds like you're just kind of jealous. And don't get me wrong, guys, there is a jealousy factor to this, but it's not the money. It's the work. It's the effort that I'm jealous of. It fucks me off when I see people who do nothing succeed, and when other people who, you know, even if you think their stuff is bad, if they're trying their best, they're doing all they can, and they're not succeeding. And I know it's, you know, it's a dog eat dog and all the other fucking things people like to say, and I do realise that YouTube is one of those, you know, serendipitous places where sometimes being first is all you need, other times, you know, it's just one of those things where they were around at the beginning and now they've been around long enough to have grown to such a point where they just keep getting richer and richer in the views and all that kind of stuff. And I understand those you know, principles. That right there, that laugh is creepy, man. And it only generally happens when they think they've got an advantage on you, so just be aware of it. The cool thing about the staircase here is if he tries to grab, sometimes they will miss you just because they're not in level with you, and it allows you to get some hits off and hopefully stun them. That's why I'm doing this particular strategy. This is a kind of a tricky room. But back to what I was saying. How many people listening to this right now work 8 to 10 hours a day doing a job that they have no passion, interest or love for, but they do it because they have to? I'm guessing it's a lot of people. you know. And that's one of the greatest things about being able to put up content like this, that allows those folks who do, you know, endure that toil to just have a moment of enjoyment or a moment of peace where they can relax and they can watch something they enjoy. And it feels great to be the person they enjoy or one of the people they enjoy, and to be able to give them that haven. Now consider that these people who put up those playthroughs with zero effort, with no commentary, with no creative license on them, which is essentially stuff that anybody can do. And I know anybody can do anything if they put enough time into it, except for breathing underwater, flying, and the several other things I usually joke about. But this is literally things that anybody can do, because there is usually no talent on show here. And these people are making more than you make in a year, in a month, in some cases. Some it might be longer, some it might be less, some might do it in a day, but I don't really want this to be about the money, I want this to be about the content. But just let that point drive home. And in the great Darwinian race, they win, because they've somehow managed to get everything for nothing, while we're in the back of the group running away from the cheetah, and the cheetah catches us, eats us, and continues its bloodline, you know. But at the same time, it isn't fair. And life isn't fair. It's just how it works, you know. You grow to realise this idealistic version of the world that you had as a child, that your parents or your teachers or your peers, you know, or your mentors were preaching to you, doesn't exist. And if it does exist, you are extremely fortunate, and you should cherish every single day. Ooh, something interesting. Doesn't that sword kind of look like the Black Knight sword? I noticed that when I was playing. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I wonder if there's a name for that kind of sword, or if it's just one of those, you know, coincidences. But back to the point at hand. This channel winds me the fuck up. It's wound me up for a while. I've even commented on the channel, hoping to get a response from the person, but they're too big to respond, and I'm probably perceived as being negative. I want to make it known, guys, that when I go to a channel I generally dislike, I don't leave comments unless it really irks me. And even then, I try to do it as tastefully and as honestly as I can, because I know from experience there's nothing worse than that random who you don't know coming on your channel and hating on you for what seems like no real reason about things you really don't care about. Because it's just white noise, because there's a lot of that shit on the internet, and it's generally ignorance, immaturity, and too much time. So I avoid it like the plague, but every so often I just can't help myself. And I have commented on this person, as I've mentioned. I've got no response. And what gets me is, there's a ton of footage coming out of E3. And what this person does, because he knows how to play the YouTube system, which is blatantly obvious by how whorish his titles, tags, and everything about him is he uploads these developer gameplays that were showed at the E3 stage, much like I have done myself. But the difference being is, I have two versions of these videos. I have the video up, which is just what they had done at the day for the people who don't like commentary, and then I do my thoughts on it. And if the uncommentated version were to get flagged or anything like that because I'd not creatively changed it, I would happily remove it, because I personally prefer to talk over them. This is a channel that has been founded on me speaking. Even right now, when we're playing this game, where I could be telling you exactly what I'm doing here and the strategies and how to make this work, which I kind of wish I was, even though I'm hooked into this tangent. I also, you know, I like to talk about other things, and I like to add my commentary, and I appreciate that not everybody likes that. Like, a lot of people seem to think I'm aiming to be this celebrity, like I want to be famous, or I want people to know me. Like, I am an antisocial motherfucker. I am. But I am because, you know, I have a circle of friends that I enjoy, I have a circle of things that I like to do, and I don't really care too much for stupid people. And unfortunately, there's a lot of stupid people, so that breeds my, you know, my hostility towards strangers. And if you meet me, I will be the most civilized person you could ever wish to be around. If you become a friend, or if we get in an environment where we can be friends, you might see different sides of me where I unleash some of my sarcasm and my ire, which I spent a weekend with a subscriber and a friend called Hobo Jesus, which there's a video coming up where I explain, where I go over the events of a convention center we went to, and that guy will tell you, you know, I was the same person in person as I am on my videos, because I see Hobo as a friend, and, you know, I'm able to to be myself without worrying that I'm going to offend him, because he pretty much knows me, you know, he's listened to me and he knows me, and it's just the way I am. If he didn't, he'd have probably knocked me out at some point across the weekend because I'd said something wildly inappropriate, because that's pretty much what I do. I don't mean to, I'm just an abrasive guy. But back on tangent, because another tangent just derailed the previous one. I put these videos up with some commentary on them. I'm under no illusion they take no effort. They do generally get more views than things that take massive effort, and it's a massive injustice of YouTube, but it's just how the system works. What this guy does is he puts them up as they are, but advertises them as a walkthrough. Even in his thumbnails, which you'll be able to spot this dude from a mile away because his colour theory is seriously lacking, man. The dude's never seen a fucking colour wheel. He's unbelievable. He makes like Heretic look like he's got a degree in colour theory, or in the flowchart from B&Q that shows you the millions of shades of sepia and burnt terracotta and shit. Which, I love you, Heretic, but you've got some interesting colour schemes, bro. And he advertises them like the walkthroughs. And I clicked on this, I was like, a walkthrough already? Has this guy got the game early? Has this guy, you know, is he breaking NDAs? Is he going to get copyright and flagged and removed? And no, he's not. He's just taken the footage from these trailers, advertised them as a walkthrough, and because it's quite a big channel, they've got anywhere between 50 to 50,000 views to 500,000. And you just look at it and you think, how the fuck is this a walkthrough? And then I knew before I clicked it what this individual was like, so I don't even know why it got to me so much. But it's just like, what it does as well is when the games come out and people already have walkthroughs that they're making and they're putting them up, when you search for it, you get this bullshit video 8 months ago of E3 footage that's advertised as a walkthrough that is essentially taking the place of some other person's work, you know, that could have been found in the search engine. And then you go to his content, and the guy plays games on the normal difficulty, he beats them, he edits out his deaths and all that good stuff. He trims them down. I think he leaves some cutscenes in and things, and boom, he does them. But he also does them with an attitude, because you can see it in the comments where he thinks he's better than the other people who do the exact same things he does. Like, he mocks other channels who say that they're making walkthroughs when really they're playthroughs and they get lost and they don't know where they're going and all that other stuff. Yet, they're doing the exact same thing he's doing, he just knows where he's going. That's literally the only difference. Like, how the hell can you make subpar content and somehow feel entitled and elitist about the other people who you are competing with? You can't. Because your content is subpar compared to other content. And I'm not saying my content, I'm just saying there are walkthroughs out there that make this guy's look like a fucking joke. An absolute joke. But they're not going and saying, you know, all of the walkthroughs are shitty, you know, mine are so much better. They don't have this delusions of grandeur, this ego, this unearned ego just because he's got, you know, some subscribers. And it just... I can't even begin to tell you the depths of hatred that I have for that kind of mentality and that kind of lack of modesty. It really, really bothers me. And I don't know this person. He might be the nicest man in the world. That right there, guys, was a tricky edit that trimmed out me going to the typewriter and saving, because I didn't think you needed to see it. But that guy might be the nicest person in the world, and all he's doing is he's being extremely, economical. He's playing the YouTube game, and he's winning. But at the same time, there's a part of me that has a soul, that has pride, that has a delusion of integrity and honour when it comes to making things I believe in. And I just think it's so douchey that he can be so derogatory to other people that literally do the exact same thing he does, the only difference being is he seems to think he's somehow superior. And I hate it. And I'm sorry that I just spent 20 minutes talking about this, but I had to get it off my chest, because if YouTube enforced a policy of if you do not add some kind of creative license, some kind of commentary, something that makes it yours, then your video cannot be monetized, you know, hell, cannot even be viewed, that channel would die tomorrow. And I would be laughing on the ashes of it. I would be pissing on its grave, because I don't like it. Oh, and lastly, guys, in the fervour of my little speech just then, I said economical, which is not the word I meant to say. I meant economical, so I do apologise about that. But I was a little bit heated, shall we say. So thank you for watching, thank you for putting up with me, and as always, you take care now.